Ian, Ian, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Before
good.
before I lose you, just go ahead and roll D4, please.
3.
Add 50. You begin uh your stealth. You when you're dealing with this that person that you're hunting with or out with. Um, they basically also give you a lot of training, and their training is very different. Their training is about a specific skill. Oh, sorry, do you have a stealth category, right?
Yeah, yeah, I got a, yeah,
The stealth category, increase it by
yeah, yeah.
15%.
Right, okay.
So
Yeah,
then it affects all the others.
yeah,
I also need to say one of those skills under there that I don't think you have is conceal.
right, yeah.
You open the conceal skill at its base, including the new bonus from stealth.
Okay, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Let's really, I gotta move it along. I'm like emotionally in need of actually getting some visual imagined activity together for our characters. And so I'm going to be real quick about this and all these different back and forth and not seeing this person and seeing that person. We have seen the out there in the woods. Jonathan is being trained by this kind of rugged looking hunter person who knows Des really well and really has a lot of contempt for Des and is very clear to you about this. And you've never like had somebody run down behind his back like this in such an expert way. Now you didn't know Des all that personally, like Benry does, but you by the time this guy's done, he seems like he's the biggest asshole ever and deserves whatever's coming to him, and that the people who that then and so that the shaman who saved him is clearly a serious problem. People like that deserve what they get. And how are people going to respect you and me without, with this kind of thing going on? The shamans they're supposed to take care of the spirits of hearth and home. They're supposed to take care of, grandfather spirit of the town. They're supposed to, basically kiss babies and stuff. They're not supposed to do this kind of thing. That's a misuse of his abilities and a misuse of the spirits themselves. The
Well, yeah, Jonathan's going to say to that. He's definitely going to say, "Well, look, that's really reassuring because I knew the priest couldn't be doing this for no reason, but I felt really, I didn't really understand what he wanted from me in terms of observing that, and now I realise, that Des had that coming to him, and that's reassuring that he'd. I realise now that Des was not a good man, and that this was the right thing to do.
well,
Um,
you might have taken just a little bit too long to realize that, young man. And then he no, then we'll that with that slightly menacing statement,
yeah, yeah,
will cut over. I'm trying to like run all the scenes simultaneously, right?
Mm.
okay,
So
yeah, cool.
the situation for Gordon is that Des has been, of course. I mean, I figure like one rise away, and you guys don't even know each other is there or something like that. But the Des, who's been like, really, your horse is beat. You're beat. You guys have spent all this time out there, and Des is talking to you, and he's saying that this is a this is dangerous. The shaman saved my life, but I'm a marked man now, and uh, I need to tell you, you have some choices to make. There are perhaps best, you're a good kid. Nothing, nobody has anything against you. You might just do better to, this is the best. I've taught you the best I can. This might be the best time for me to say goodbye to you, and you just turn your back. I know that you're the one who brought me home. I owe you my life.
Mm.
So I'm staying. I mean, I'll stay, and I'll do what I can um, to help you or protect you. But I suggest that when someone speaks against me or whatever happens to me because of that, probably they'll have some other trick coming now that this didn't work. Um, I suggest you let it go next time. If I make it, I make it. And if I don't want you being taken down with me.
So yeah, Binri will be definitely a little confused by that. Um, so he's got two things going on, which is he doesn't want to pay any attention to even Des telling him what he's supposed to do. If he
Right.
feels like saving Des again, he's going to save Des again. Damn it.
Tell him that if you
Um,
want.
but on the other hand, he's also worried about, wait, if I don't have Des, who's going to take me out and let me do this wilderness stuff, because I don't want to get stuck in town like, my family wanted me to, and
Right.
start learning council stuff. I want to stay out here. So yeah, I mean, he'll try and say both to him. He'll try and say,
Right.
okay, so I'll do what I want to do, but if something does happen to you, who should I look to as my next mentor?
Well, if what's coming is coming, then I suggest that you start thinking about Eben, the man who saved me. That Alkerton, that young man, he seems like quite the young shaman himself. But who knows? Who knows? My friends and I, we couldn't do anything. I'm one of the few left. Maybe you and your friends can do better. Maybe the younger people have a chance. I'll tell you this. You need I think we need some real help. I think we need to find the light.
Oh.
I think we need to find the light. I think that who knows, we word of a troop nearby perhaps. Uh, the 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 troop, the blind one, the blinded they call her, the whore, and the devil. Maybe it's time to turn to the wicked gods. I've just watched too many people disappear, too many people be eaten by the forest just because they didn't like the way Aniv pushed people around, just because they missed somebody who was eaten in the dark.
Is he talking about the other cults there, or is he referring
Yes, he
to?
is. You've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
of these. These are bad gods, and weird people worship them and are not to be trusted. Um, they're sometimes tolerated. Everybody likes to see a good play when the troop comes to town. Sometimes they're appreciated when they bring gifts, but these are nonconformists. These are people who leave their families and homes and take up in weird cults and live in weird ways, and they're not very moral. You have been warned against them all your life in a kind of don't talk about it, you know, you know what it is, stay away from it kind of way. So he's actually saying something fairly shocking.
Right.
In fact, he says, that's where I'm taking you right now. We have some people to meet. Are you ready for this? I heard
Well,
what you
yeah,
just I heard
of
what you
course
just
I'm
said. It
ready.
was brave. So
Of course I'm ready. I can I can make my own opinions.
he kind of looks at you and says, maybe you can. So that leaves us with Alkerton,
Mm-hmm.
who's having these spirit conversations. So I'd
Yeah.
like you to have just a little bit more chat with Rudiver.
Yeah.
Rudiver's part of it's botany and part of it's spirit talk, and he talks about, the spirits of the forest were once all our friends. We hunted with love. We farmed with love. Before time began, in the days before time began, before the way he puts it differently, it's not Glorantha. He says, before the world began. Before the world began, we hunted, we farmed, we fished, we loved, and they loved us back.
Mm.
In those days, every animal, even the predators, all were friends. We all had our place, and death in the forest was a thing to be praised.
Heretic.
Yeah, and so,
It sounds like paradise, Rudiver.
well, maybe it is just an ideal. Maybe it is, but the spirits of the farm and the spirits of the house and the spirits of the garden, they don't they don't hate us. They don't fear us. They don't prey
No.
upon us. And the followers of the witch say that they're just going out and being part of the real forest while we play in our tame garden.
Mm.
We say they're the ones who caused the strife in the first place, that the forest could be a different place entirely. The
Have those
wilds may not be the wilds.
have those spirits been corrupted over time, or how do we lose these old ways?
I'm going to tell you some things. Ebon would have brought you through this perhaps a little more slowly, but you defied the goddess last night. Do you understand that? You defied the goddess. They will take you and they will tear your body apart in their orgies.
Okay, Alcason's going to sort of blanch visibly at this and look quite frightened. Yeah.
They will eat you.
What
People
can I
that
do?
people you know here in the village, hiding behind their smiles. They will take you, Alkerton, for what you have done.
Should
And
I
it's partly
flee?
my fault. It's partly my fault. Sunan didn't want me to. Sunan said that she couldn't bring in Eben and anyone else into this. Certainly not a boy. I had no idea. If I'd known he was going to bring you, I might not have gone to him. Wait, that doesn't make any sense because he told you. Hold on, he said, I really didn't know if it was the right thing to send you to get Eben.
Yeah.
But, and Sunan is still angry at me for it.
But we saved theirs. It had to be done.
We
Rudiver, you
did,
did the right
well,
thing.
I hope so. But Sunan may be right in thinking that the goddess will be furious and that her followers will now stop at nothing. And they cannot go after Eben too easily. Not just because of what power he has, that cannot stand against not against a priest. But he can defeat them here in the village itself, as you saw. And he also is loved. Shamans who aren't popular would have a harder time, but he's loved. They cannot move openly against him.
Mm.
You are the weak point.
What should I do to protect myself, my mother, Rudiver? I'm frightened.
Well, first of all, that's what I'm trying to do. Let me speak to you of Risha Himla. Risha Himla was the goddess of the waters and of the spirits. The waters that move in our body as blood and the other humors. The waters that move in the forest. The waters that fall from the sky that freeze and melt. All one water, do you understand? The water of the body, the water of nature. And in that swam all the spirits and rose from it.
Mm-hmm.
Our spirits, the spirits of the trees, the spirits of the lakes, the spirits of the rain. The spirits of disease, the spirits of healing. In balance. Do you understand, Alcatur? In balance, not in strife. Risha Himla is bound by She
Okay, I'll
is
look.
bound, she is tortured, she is in torment. And that is what gives power over the spirits. That is what takes her to rip the living spirit from a shaman's body and bind it into the tormented bark of a diseased tree. That is where their spirit power comes from. It's theft, it's crime.
And freeing Rishim La would allow us to have the relationship with the forest that you spoke of, Rudiver?
We cannot dare hope for any such thing. Now we just try to live. Keeping our spirits, the few that we can protect and who can protect us, safe. They have deeper and darker magics than anything. Spirits are of this world. Spirits are ourselves. Spirits are fun. Spirits are just like you and me. We are spirits.
Mm.
Oh, I love hippie fantasy. And yet, this is deeper, darker, more core to the heart of the world. The magics they wield. Risha Himla wielded magics of that kind, but she was brought down, chained, and now she presides over the drowned, the forgotten, and the enslaved. A goddess of drowning and of binding. Herself in torment. Yes, we worship Risha Himla, but we grieve for her because she cannot receive our worship, and all of the power that she wields has been corrupted and twisted into the witch's grasp. Now make another spirit lore roll. Or
Okay. Let's hope I'm a bit luckier. No, 59, I'm afraid.
Phooey. Oh well.
Get
God, I gotta keep making shit up now. Okay, so
sorry.
Okay, so then Gordon, you've had your conversation. Oh, Ian.
Hmm?
Well, isn't it nice? This guy is teaching all this cool things and all the rest of it. And then he introduces you to his daughter as you guys come home. And this is Yoreen. You've seen Yoreen, you knew her. She's a member of the community, but you've never really interacted with her before. And in fact, Binri knows Yoreen a lot better because this is an outrider family or a hunter family. Wait a minute, I'm a little confused. Who comes from the hunter family? That's you, right? Yeah.
That's me.
So, right. So this is actually somebody you know, maybe even like a distant cousin or something. But you don't know her that well, and she's never been this friendly to you before.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, so Yoreen is going to just say, well, you've had a long day. Thanks, Dad. How's he? And he says, yeah, he's a fine young man. And
Wow, that's approval.
so yeah, and Yoreen is attentive to you and wants to know all about, she's everybody's talking about the events, yesterday's events, of course, and there's much to discuss. Um, Oops, playing with the little button there. All right.
Yeah, so obviously I suspect if Jonathan's going to talk about it, yesterday's event, he's probably going to downplay his kind of help he gave to Binri and play up more his observation of events.
Right.
Doesn't want to necessarily look as though he fucked up basically in terms of basically Des not dying. But he's keen to talk about the birds and the seeing the kind of priest and stuff, and how terrifying all is.
Yeah, she doesn't. She says, "Oh, let's not speak of that. Let's speak of that. Let's save that for the real world, by which she means out there in the forest."
Yeah.
She says, "I can't wait. I mean, I'm going to my first the next full moon is is the next ritual, and they say I can come. They say I can go to that. Maybe you will too."
if they ask me, I'll be there. And
I've heard. She says she kind of leans in and says, "You've heard about these, right?"
yeah, yeah. I've heard about the things that go on. Sure, yeah.
The
But
pure man.
you've got to be strong, right? Because it can be frightening. And
She's
you prepare yourself for that. Prepare yourself for it being frightening.
she kind of like smiles at you and said, "Oh, I wasn't thinking about anything painful." So, or maybe then she shrugs. Well, maybe a little.
Yeah, but no, I'm looking forward to being invited to one of those.
Well, you have to be to demonstrate, loyalty and demonstrate community to do that.
Sure.
The real community. I mean, the actual people here who actually are connected to the real world. You know, you know that guy Alkerton?
Yeah. I've seen him. I've heard about him. Yeah,
Yeah, well, you were right there with him. You saw him yesterday. You heard what he did.
I did. I heard what he did. Yeah,
We don't really.
I don't think they understand the truth. They're in denial about the truth.
You don't know what a person like that's going to do next. If that shaman turns his head anymore and he doesn't know his place. Listen, Jonathan, you were there.
I think maybe he just brought him into a bad crowd.
He probably thinks
the bad shape crowd.
He probably thinks, Jonathan, he probably thinks that you're his friend now. Why don't you spend some time with him? Hang out with him a little bit. Let him think you're his friend. You don't really have to spy on him or anything. Just tell us what he says. Where he goes. What people he talks to, and you're sympathetic to him. And
yeah.
Did you hear that, Gordon?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Yeah. So Yoreen is saying, go ahead and spend. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Hey, if you do, I'll meet you tomorrow.
Yeah, well, maybe this is a way to prove myself to get invited to the ceremony.
Gestures off to the forest with her head and says,
"Wow,
out there."
Okay, well, I want to prove my worth. So this is a really great idea you give me, because this gives me my chance to make up for some things that may have led people to question how fit I was. So yeah, this is a great idea. I'm going to do this. I'm gonna talk to Alkerton and see if I can figure out what's going on.
During this whole time that you've been talking and babbling like that, she kind of looks you up and down a little bit and lets you kind of run out, and then says, "I'll see you tomorrow morning, if you have anything to tell me." And then,
sure.
And then she takes off. She wanders back off. So, what are you going to do now? So, Alkerton, you're over there thinking about life, right?
Yeah.
And Gordon, you're doing the same. What do you want to do now?
Well, so I was thinking that Des was punishing me for some reason, but it turns out actually he's going to take me to meet someone. So I guess I get shift into excitement and try and move us along. Okay, if you're taking me somewhere, let's go there. He may still be trying to train me, and I may be getting short on that. But
okay, so
that's where it sounds like to me is that Binri has shifted to, oh, he's going to take me somewhere. Let's get there. Let's get there now.
Okay, so he'll take you to an encampment at a crossroads, and so this is a place where two roads come together, and there's an area that people frequently use. There's an area that people frequently use to camp when they're traveling. So this is a well-used place with, water source and fire pits, and people stay there all the time. There's a wagon. There are a couple of smaller carts. There's at least 10 horses tied up at the various, the hitching posts. There are about, it's kind of hard to get a quick count, but there's at least a dozen people, maybe more. And they've got, a side of one wagon rolled up, and they have, set up cooking fires and stuff like that. So it looks kind of like everybody's kind of, running around doing camping stuff. One thing you'll notice though is that there's a lot of gaily painted stuff. There's the flaps on the wagon are gaily painted. There's one of the one of the carts has all sorts of murals drawn around it. And one person is getting their one person's working on a whole bunch of different weird items that you're not very familiar with, but they seem very brightly colored and sort of specialized tools of some kind.
It sounds like these are strangers.
He says, well, they're travelers, but they come from the same villages and communities that you and I do.
Do we often get travelers?
Have you never seen the troop before?
I don't. Have I ever seen the troop before?
No, I know that. As a matter of fact, I would say that your community has generally turned them away. And Des says, yes, they probably do, avoid us a little bit. But I'm a little surprised, in traveling around that you haven't run across them before. Here, this is their camp. They're not performing right now, but we'll stick with them for a day or two. Maybe you'll get a treat and watch them do a show.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see something other than what I see every day. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so basically you're gonna camp with these people. Des will introduce you and introduce himself to them as well. They seem a friendly bunch and kind of a somewhat obviously their own subcultural way. They use some slang you've never heard before. They make jokes you don't get. But some of them are teens, and they sort of snap you up, and you guys do what teens do to talk with each other and kind of feel each other out, and see what each other's good at, throw rocks, stuff like that. They explain to you that the instruments being worked on over there, or the tools or whatever, that they are different kinds of instruments. Some of them are used for making music, and some of them are used for making interesting noises. Like, if you need the sound of thunder or you need the sound of rain and stuff like that. So, you're a little, I mean, you know what a show is, right? You know that people do performances, obviously. All humans know that. But you've never seen anything quite as dedicated specifically to doing it as this.
Wow. Yeah, I would have thought you used like spirits or something for that. Wow.
Says, we honor the spirits as well. There's spirits of the wagon who travel with us, and others.
Yeah, I guess it would be kind of disrespectful to use a spirit of thunder just for a mere performance.
Mm-hmm. So they say, do you know much about spirits?
Oh no, actually, not that much. I mean, I focus on being out in the wilderness, and so the way I was thinking of him is he isn't the most dedicated hunter of the bunch, but he just likes being out and away. And so anything that lets him have an excuse to poke around the wilderness and throw spears at creatures is good enough by him.
Okay. So anyway, you're out there camping with these folks, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Ian, I'm interested in whether you go and see Alkerton or not, who should be coming coming in from a spirit talk now, just about.
Yeah, pretty shaken up.
Mhm.
Jonathan's stats are he's got an into 9 and a power of 9, so I think that already means he's easily led.
Right.
And I think
He's
that, you know,
rapidly indoctrinated.
a teenage girl at his age, I think he's definitely very easily led. So he's gonna pitch up to Alcton. He's gonna try and be the spy, right? He thinks that's quite, you know, I'm a spy right now. I'm working for people.
As she said, it's not like they want you to actually spy on him. She said in so many words, only that you hang out with him and make him think that you're his friend and tell us what he does and the people he hangs out with. That's all.
Yeah, so that's cool, right? So I'm gonna see Alcton, and I'll probably wander over to him, and I you know, I'll say, hey, Alcton, you know, yesterday, what a day.
I'm going to suggest that this is by a body of water. Okay. And so, you know, and then you have to walk back along the margin of this water from where Alkerton was. So he's kind of coming back from out there with the mushrooms. Alkerton, you probably have like a basket of the mushrooms. You with me on that?
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm more successful than usual in finding things then. That's good.
So, hey, Alkerton, wow, I mean, if you heard about, is Des going to be okay? Do you know?
I don't. He's with Mistress Sunan at the moment. I do hope so.
Wow. What about Benry? Have you heard about him at all?
No, I think he took off early. I've not seen him for a while.
Did Benry tell you what happened? Did he describe the birds that came and attacked Des?
I saw these birds leave Des's body, but Benry didn't tell me about the earlier attack. No,
it was like nothing I'd seen. Terrifying. I'd never seen anything like it before.
What's going on? Do you think?
I don't know. I really don't. You know, no one's really explained it to me. Has anyone tried to explain it to you?
Well, Eben told me I should leave.
Really? That bad?
But he wouldn't. You know what he's like. He can be a bit vague, and you know.
Yeah.
You know what these shamans are like. They try and sometimes I wonder they just try and pretend they're wise.
Well, yeah, I guess you know that they think that maybe by being cryptic a bit that you know we'll all be impressed a little bit. But why was he saying you should leave? What if
my mother? So I'm just worried we're all in danger. You know, all of us.
But in danger from whom, Malcolm?
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me. So I think you should leave with us, Jonathan. We should all go and take our mum and go somewhere else. The village is in danger.
Wow, I mean that's scary if the village is in danger. Well, I mean, why Des? What do you know about Des? You know, was he? I mean, I've heard some people say that Des wasn't necessarily the stand-up guy we thought he was, right? That maybe he was meddling with stuff.
What kind of stuff? Do you think he's brought a problem to us? Do you think?
And maybe it's Des that's brought this on the village, right?
A dark force.
Yeah, I don't know, but I heard some people saying that maybe this is all Des's fault. That this is happening because of Des, right?
Could be. I guess the elders will. Maybe you should consider that.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll talk to us and tell us what's going on.
I doubt it.
They haven't told you to flee. That's kind of weird, really.
I'm just thinking, is it just hot air, or should I be packing my bags? I'm worried about my mother as well. We've only been here a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
do you feel in danger?
Well, I spend a lot of time out in the wild as a hunter. You see a lot. You learn to deal with the kind of fear of the stuff that's out there, you learn that kind of thing. Obviously, he knows nothing, but he's bigging it up. Right. But
you're very brave, Jonathan. So is more like you.
It's also kind of hilarious too, because you're practically embodying everything Rudiver just told him. I'm kind of debating on my RuneQuest GMing parameters. In later BRP, they emphasize very greatly the characteristic ×5 roll.
Yeah.
Which is in Call of Cthulhu, almost basically becomes your generic skill, your generic intelligence skill, your generic, whatever, strength skill, that kind of thing. In fact, it kind of does. So you basically have that skill, strength times 5. It's just basically kind of your strength skill. Whereas there's not really much mention of that here in RuneQuest. There's a little bit, I think.
I think the errata kind of says, hey, in the absence of anything else, you can use a times 5 roll.
Right, but that doesn't tell me, for example, whether I can do things like make comprehension of situation rolls, which is, in other words,
I think it's the early years of the hobby, very vague.
Right, absolutely, yeah. And so, therefore, I mean, everybody was fine with, okay, how do I roll a rock out of the way? How do I pick a lock? But it was kind of like, how do you tell when somebody's lying, that kind of thing. Then you get all these weird things like detect liabilities and humanity and stuff like that. All that stuff creeps in weird ways.
Yeah.
And it is Appendix A for sure. And they give the example of power. They give an example of constitution. They give an example of dexterity. But the idea of using intelligence, for example, times 5, doesn't even seem to cross their minds. There's no element of play that's described in such a way that would lead you ever to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think it's not even implicit.
No, and I think some people began to use the resistance table for that, didn't they? So they'd use like my charisma versus his.
That's exactly the way to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
kind of
it's not really, it's definitely a stretch of the system, but or in other words, but it's, I think, probably the way that's using the simplest tools available to us. So let's do exactly that. That's exactly it. Rudiver's intelligence versus Jonathan's charisma. And I think that's going to be not a very even contest, but we'll see how we do.
I'm not super bright. Intelligence 13.
Oh,
I got a charisma of 11. So.
Oh, that's actually okay. Okay, yeah. Because you guys are a little more evenly matched. You're talking about a 40% roll.
And we can't do the power is the intuition type stat, can we, Ron?
No, this is, I know. 60% is your for you, Matthew. See if you can make it.
Okay. Oh, just about 53.
Oh, he's lying through his fucking teeth.
Which bits is he lying about, Ron? I know as a player, but is there any bits that I find particularly jarring in his conversation?
I think that going by content is the best. The parts where what he's saying are practically, like I said, they're practically word for word what Rudiver was talking about how they were going to, that they were going to single out, they're going to try and defame Des, they were going to move in on you. They were, I mean, it seems so obviously perfect that if I'm saying that any success in that role is going to at least tip you off that clearly he's doing what Rudiver said they would do.
Okay. Jonathan, are you getting into something a bit bigger than you should be, perhaps?
Me? I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, what do you mean?
I'm a bit worried about you, and I put my hand on his shoulder.
I kind of like shrug a little bit uncomfortably because I'm obviously uncomfortable that I haven't fooled you. That's just not good for my ego or my all gone plans.
Yeah, yes, your chances of dilly-dallying tomorrow are vanishing in front of your eyes.
What is somebody? I mean, why would you think I was in something deep?
Just a feeling I have. People have said to me, various villagers might be being bad-mouthed and defamed, and I guess I wonder if it's more a coincidence what you're saying about Des.
I'm only telling you what I've heard other people say. It's not coming from me, Elton. It's coming from people. I'm just telling you what I've heard, right?
Okay. Well, I hope it doesn't come true because people keep repeating it. Binri likes him. Binri's a good judge of character.
Sure. Look, anyway, I've got to go and smoke some meat So
Is that a euphemism, Jonathan?
Oh no.
On the racks, on the racks in the smokehouse, from the hunt today. There's some squirrel meat that needs basically needs smoking. So look, I'm sure you're busy too. I'm sure you've got a lot of
But think what I said. There's a lot of good people in this village.
Oh sure, yeah, that's good, yeah. But look, honestly, look, if you want to confide in me at any point about your worries, Alton, please, I really am genuinely here for you. Look, we're age mates. We grew up together, you, me, and Benry. Please don't turn me away just because you've heard some stories that people are trying to spread bad words and stuff. That would be.
No, I trust you, Jonathan. And don't be being something. I know you're a good bloke.
Yeah.
And if you do hear anything about me being in danger, will you let me know?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
So I need to get my mum out of here if I need to go.
Okay. Look, you look after your mum and stuff, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
It's a dangerous world out there.
Enjoy the smoking squirrel meat.
Yeah, I will.
Then. What's just Matthew? You got to tell me what's because you're frozen for me, but you have to tell me verbally. Then, what is Alkerton's face showing us after Jonathan leaves? What does his face look like?
I think criticalness. So I guess he's aware that Jonathan has been trying to lie to him, but I think he's still trying to be charitable and either think that Jonathan is being misled or is being misinformed. So he's aware there's been a bit of a mismatch between the truth and what's going on, but at the same time he's probably still seeing Jonathan more as an innocent party rather than somebody who actually has malevolent intent, I guess. So he's more a bit baffled and probably a little bit worried about his friend then in that case.
Okay. Let's take it to the middle of the night. And so that's
pretty straight. I can't see you at all there. I can only see your phone.
Right now, it's my camera that I'm worried about. I'm sorry to everybody else. We're not doing a damn thing. So what we have here is the middle of the night, and so out at the Crossroads encampment, we out at the Crossroads encampment. Let's just say that they're a fun group. They're a fun group, and they tell stories that you've never heard before, and even Des lightens up. He's been awful worried, but now he lightens up, and it's and they sing songs that one song before they all go, before bedtime, before the older people retire anyway, that is you've never heard. And the song is very much about stuff you've never thought about before. Basically, that it's got like a laughing refrain where everybody joins in on the refrain, singing ha ha ha, and stuff like that. And it seems almost irresponsibly chipper. The whole thing is like, wow, these people are really, they seem to take this song kind of seriously. About laughter and tricks, and there's a lot of trickster tales. The other thing that I'll say is that when a lot of the older people have retired, and Des kind of claps you on your hand and says, well, who knows, maybe it's a night of adventure for you, lad, and heads off to bed. And one of the other kids who's older than you guys, or so maybe like older than a kid but not much, kind of grins at you guys and pulls out a little leather tube that's got like a plug, and he pops it open and kind of holds it up like this and says, everybody ready? And they all, everybody like says, okay, wow, you got it. And he pours it, and it's almost completely like oil or a viscous mass that flows like water, but far more slowly and much more coherent, and it is gleaming, and it's a nighttime, remember? Gleaming bright gold with a light of its own. And it forms a puddle and doesn't soak into the ground, just forms an even spread and keeps spreading like farther than you think it should based on the amount that was there. And everybody's like interested, and they don't have kind of a naughty we're sinning and having fun thing, which is kind of where you thought this was going maybe, but
Right.
instead they all of a sudden seem like they're almost very reverent and yet joyful at the same time. So kind of like really serene smiles, and some glances pass back and forth among them of almost like approving, appreciative glances toward one another. Um, a couple of them, take off, their mantles that they wear, and almost just so that they can expose more of themselves to the gleam. At
Binri
this,
would, if Binri, somebody in the course of all of this, there's probably somebody that he's gotten a little more friendly with,
sure,
or wants to be a little more friendly with, and he'll just kind of think,
absolutely,
what's going on? What?
uh-huh.
Yeah, whisper, what's going on? What should I do? What should I do?
hmm Well, that's no problem. Um, uh, Kamen, Kamen, is a young woman who you guys have discovered you guys were born on the same day, and of course that's enough to make you buddies, right? And
Right.
so she she says, "Oh yes, this there are pools and sources and springs of it all around, hard to find and guarded by the stickmen."
Oh, I've heard about the liquid pools.
Mhm.
This is from there?
Yes, and it it's it, it's not of this world. The sun has touched it from out of this world.
From the spirit realm?
No, from outside. The spirits are part of the world. Outside everything.
I
It's
I didn't know there was an outside of everything.
and she says, "Watch." And she puts out her hand, and everyone says, "Oh!" And she puts her finger in and lifts it up, and it oozes down and just kind of comes off of her hand, leaving no trace. Her hand's not wet, and it resorbs back into the pool, which ends up being as even as it was before. But when she turns to you, it's clear that it had an impact on her. She breathes in and is suffused, and for just a moment, when she looks at you, her eyes glow golden and then return back to where they had come. So,
Almost irresistible to repeat what she did.
well,
And yeah, sure, I'm not going to have been resisted.
all right. And so so you do. I mean, and the sensation is fascinating. It's just like water, except that it's not cold and it runs off without leaving you wet, and yet you can gather it in your hands like a pool of water. And you are uh, uh, in game mechanics terms, you are uh, basically granted an available point of power.
Cool.
You can't, just so you know, you can't use it to just replace a point of power. Like if you had lost power and then we couldn't just take it in and it was yours, just recover a point. It doesn't do that, but it's like it hovers there and you can use it as a point of power. And you could, as long as you had it, keep yourself from dropping to power 0. But that's what it is. It's like really raw power. And she says, she says, this world, I mean, they're all of them are like encouraging to you when you do this. They all, like, somebody puts their hand like on your shoulder, and when and it's fun. All I can say, it's like it's fun to play with. It's got that Mercury quality to it.
Mm.
It's just fun, and and they don't all like bathe in it or stomp in it or touch it or anything. They're a little respectful about it. But the fact that you do this gets a whole lot of kind of approving things, of approving looks and stuff like that. And Common will take up a little bit of it herself and like drop some on her forehead. So it's like fading down her, so she's covered with this golden stuff, and she'll kiss you while she's covered with it. So
I'll scoop up a little bit more and put it on her forehead to keep that going on.
Suffice to say that the person who had it is going to get it back in its tube before things get too interesting. But I'll just
the only thing I would have Binri try and do, and fine if this doesn't have any results. He has the Farsi power.
Yes.
Give him 10 times vision. He'll at some point take that good long hard look at it with that 10 times vision.
Oh, I see what you mean. What's kind of interesting? No, it's you get a negative outcome. Negative meaning that it doesn't magnify. It is, in other words, it's the same and no matter what, if that makes any sense.
That's strange. I mean, he would take that as strange, but also not make a huge amount of it because he's got this kissing thing going on. So,
right. So therefore, in the interests of of decency, we shall leave whatever Binri and Kamen get up to in their own business, if anything, because you never know. And so, therefore, though, the only other thing I'll tell you is that in the night, or rather in the morning, you realize that in a perimeter around the camp, that something had devastated the immediate region. Marks of fire, destruction, almost as though somebody or something had a massive tantrum of orgy of destruction, much more so than like people just with their hands could have done. Trees are uprooted. A horse had strayed out of the perimeter and it's been horribly killed and mutilated. And but inside the perimeter is completely untouched. And they're worried, they're upset about the horse. They're like, damn, a horse got out, poor thing, but they aren't treating this as they don't treat it as a routine thing. They say, yeah, it came last night. We've been waiting for this.
Well, Binri is much more bent out of shape in terms of how could this happen, and I didn't even hear anything. But okay, I guess I'm okay. That's good.
They all give praise to Vix Isk. Vix Isk has preserved us.
Who is Vix Isk? I don't understand. Who are you thanking?
They laugh and say, they lean in and say, don't you know? The trickster, the liar, the fool. Isn't that what you call him? And yes, you have. This is one of the bad gods. And they all laugh. The ones who are disposing of the horse, burying it, are not laughing, but they treat this like a disgusting but saddening but necessary task. Everybody else, in the immediate vicinity who hears this conversation laughs, and one of them even like makes a gesture with their hands and lolls their tongue and bugs their eyes at you. And Des is getting up, and he's startled by all of this, and he says, "I've never seen this." And they said, "Oh yes, they came in the night. Vixus
Who
kept
came
us
in
all
the night?
safe." The Do you really want training? Do you really want to know? And then the wagon, one of the wagons opens. A woman steps out. You haven't seen her the whole time. She's wearing something that you've never seen before. Remember that in this setting, all of what we think of as metal is actually a particular kind of wood,
Right.
right? She's wearing a weapon you have never seen. And it's like a machete, but it's formed very differently. And clearly you're looking at it as like, what the hell could that possibly be for chopping, right? This is not, all the weapons you've ever seen are repurposed tools except for spears, so which you're good at. But she's carrying what looks like a machete, except that it is about just under 3 feet long, and it is as relatively straight, and one edge is sharpened all the way down, the other one is sharpened about 2/3 back. The hilt is not the same as you would see with the kind of cutting and slicing tool implements that you're used to. It's not very ornate, but you're looking at it and you're like, that's not you. I mean, you're good enough with your hands. You're like, that's not what I'm used to seeing.
Maybe you hold it over the fire and roast chunks of meat.
And so the the woman is dressed in a very different fashion. She's dressed, sort of like in some church traditions, you've got the surplice, right? The thing with the two stripy things that come down the front, hang down the front.
Okay.
So she's wearing something like that with small runes up and down it. And she's wearing and it's hooded, but the hood is thrown back. Under that, she's wearing extremely utilitarian clothes, a lot like the wrappings and stuff that you have on and stuff like that. Nothing special.
Gotcha.
She steps down, and everybody shuts up fast. Des says, "One of the blinded is here?" And he quickly says to you, "Shut up, boy. Do not speak." The he knows you pretty well by now. And the woman comes up and she says, "I'm not one of the blinded yet. Yeah, I'm Thakia, and I am merely and she uses a term. I'm merely an acolyte of the blinded one, as you see." And she kind of looks at you with her eyes kind of a little wider. Her eyes are fine. And she says, the troop has been kind enough to take me to my destination, but I'm beginning to get the idea I may be needed here. She looks at you and then looks back at Des and says, "Outrider, who's this boy?" "Well, why, this is Binri. He's from the Blue Hills villages, as am I." She says, "Yes, the troop usually doesn't come this far. This sort of thing tends to happen. Perhaps and also I'm sure my presence here was known." Des, they call you. Des. "Do you ask?" Des swallows hard and says, "Yes, I ask. I ask for this boy. I ask for him. I do." It's like he's like convincing himself to do it as he's talking. Swallows hard. She looks at you and says, "Do you know what this is?" And she draws it. That's when you see the edges, holding the blade in the flat with the palm of her hand. Do you,
Uh,
Binri?
Kind of glance at Des. Between everything going on here, the shut up actually got through to Binri this time, but he'll answer anyway. No, a kit must be a weapon. Can't just be a kitchen tool.
She looks at Des and says, "Did these?" She uses a word a little bit like silly idiot. It's a single word, like doofuses, pretty much is kind of the word. She said, "Did these doofuses? What they said is what you said is true. He killed the chills bird." And Des said yes, and got me home safely. He's a strong, brave man. And he says, and he'll die. They'll get him. They'll get him. They're the shaman. Everything they told you is true. The shaman cured me, and they cured him, and we kept the chills from the village. They will not forget. I do, he says, and this time he's sure. I do ask for Binri, that you take him, under the gaze that no one can see, the gaze that no one else knows, that you take him under, and he chokes on, and she says, say it, if you can. And Des says, so that who must die will die. The light that flashes from the blade at that time fills everybody's eyes, and everybody blinks and like wipes their eyes. When you can see again, she sheathed it. And she says, go with these idiots then, Des. You've earned your freedom, I think. She spins on her heel, like pulls up like one satchel, right? Strides over to a horse, and it starts unhitching it. Des says, go on.
So Binri is looking at him, looking at this Fakia, looking at and yeah, after a little hesitation, he'll move to her side and start helping gear up the horse.
Well, you've got your own horse.
Yeah.
She kind of positions herself so that like any attempt you make to like touch anything of hers just doesn't work. So
not a huge surprise.
Yeah.
So he'll move to his own horse and kind of, tighten up the girth, move up beside her and say, I'm going with you? Questioning?
The other teen, all the teens you met come running up to you. Cayman passes you your spear. And they're all shouting, bye!
Cayman, where am I going?
She doesn't even answer. She turns her head halfway, like away from you, as she's like sets off at her horse at a trot, and turns her head away from you, and then back in a quarter turn toward everybody else who's waving, puts up one hand, and says bye, and keeps going.
All right, so at this point, Binri has probably been desperately trying to have some attention somewhere else except with this woman, and now there's nothing left. It's all focused on her, and try and read her expression, or get a response to "I'm going with you."
Are you going to catch up with her and her horse?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. She's not galloping or anything, so it's not like you have to make a riding roll or anything. But you can trot up next to her, and at that point you can see that she's suppressing a smile. And now that you're a little ways away from the encampment, she breaks out in a little laugh, and she says, "Those assholes deserve a little of that once in a while." If she says affectionately.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand.
She's still kind of stern looking, but turns out she's got a little bit of a sense of humor after all.
Yeah. I think Binri is still confused. I get it.
Right. She says to him, "You're under my protection now. Sounds like your village could use a little help." Well, good enough. Either whoever it is dies, or I do.
Oh, that's what that was about. I don't know who it would be.
Tell me, it's all right. It's all right. You know, I've never really been in this area before. Many places considered haunted. Did you know that? Did you know you come from the haunted hills, boy?
I know the hills can be dangerous.
The hand of is strongest here.
Great. Yeah.
Other places.
We don't talk about
Why should you, or how could you? She's everywhere here. I can smell it. But tell me some more then. Tell me what it's like here. Were you born here in this village? Did you move from one to the other?
No, I was born here in the village.
Okay. So all right. So basically, you'll have a conversation. You'll discover that she was she didn't have a special life. She's not from some exotic land where everybody's a badass or anything like that. But that she left her home, left her village, left her community to walk the path of the blind. And often she'll tell you that the blind often travel with the troop, even though they're useless. And can't understand anything important. But again, every time she like runs them down, she's always like it's always the whole that they're back there talking about what a stick in the mud she is, and so there's kind of that there's really no malice at all in the way she's talking about them.
Sure.
And she's interested. She's interested in the legends. You know all about the grandfather spirit of your village. You know all about the story of how we came to be here. You know all about the story of the year of the storm and all that stuff. So it's got plenty to tell her about. But yeah, sometimes she nods at things that you don't understand why she nodded at that, but it seemed to be important to her. Okay, sorry, Matthew and Ian, sort of left you behind there. Because I was going to have you all do midnight simultaneously, and then I got too excited by teen naughtiness, and sort of lost my thread there for a bit. So let's go back to the middle of the night. Ian, you're going to be visited by something. You'll wake up and you'll find yourself unaccountably not in your bed at home, but you'll find yourself in what seems to be a bog in the middle of the night, a forest bog, what's moving in the forest bog are the kinds of spiders that they don't domesticate. And so yes, you are, appears to be, it's kind of like waking up in a nightmare. In fact, the things are distorted and out of shape, and at the time it seems normal. You know, there's no point in questioning. You're here, right? How did I get here? Never mind. They're after you. So effectively, you're having some sort of nightmare. What do you want to do? What skills do you want to use? What do you want to address? The spiders are coming. You're sure you saw one and you know you're out there. I'm saying that you're having some sort of weird nightmare. Oh, and now he's frozen on me. Yeah. All right. Meanwhile, it's gonna pop in and out. Yeah.
Oh, he's back.
All right.
There we are.
All
That's
right.
good.
So you were in the middle of the weird nightmare, Ian?
Yep.
Okay, well, it's very nightmarish, as you can tell from what I'm trying to describe. And the question is, you know, the spiders are out there. They're the kind of spiders that aren't domesticated. You don't know if you've seen any, but you know they're there. You know they're coming for you. And if you stay right here in this boggy spot as you're feeling yourself beginning to sink into the mud, they'll get you. They'll get you and they'll suck you dry. You've heard of the husks they leave behind. So tell me what skill or thing you're going to do. Oh, he froze on me again. Simultaneously, Matthew, in the middle of the night, I'd like you to, you know what, with that intelligence versus charisma roll with a couple other things, I'd like you in the middle of the night to, in the successful spirit combat, you're going to remember something.
Okay.
There's some furniture that's always kind of kicked around in your house that you've never really given much thought to. And all of a sudden it catches your eye for the first time. Just some things around, some like one piece of furniture, maybe a few scraps of stuff around. There's a child's bed there. There's a child's bed. It's been sitting there the whole time. You knew it was there. Hadn't really thought about it before, which is really freaky. And thrown across it is a little girl's dress, like a child, 10-year-old maybe, kind of clothes for a kid. Nothing else. It doesn't look used. It's not like there's shoes there and stuff and other things. Doesn't look like it's being readily used. It looks old, abandoned, forgotten, untouched.
Okay.
Make a power check. Power times 5. And that is in the rules, damn it.
So that'll be 85, won't it? Okay.
If you get your power or less, then you're going to get an increase roll. But
okay. Yeah, I got 16 on my D100.
16?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's good.
Yeah, it's totally good. It is effectively a critical.
Okay, cool.
Well, not a critical. It's 20% of what you needed. So like the equivalent of an impale.
Yeah.
And for an attack. So that's amazing. It all floods back. It all suddenly, you realize you had a father here. You had a sister here. You were a family of 4 here.
Okay.
No wonder there's that other room. No, wait. No wonder. How come you never thought of that before? How could you not remember your sister? Her name comes back to you. You used to play with her.
Where's she gone? I guess I'm reeling with this knowledge now.
You don't know. You don't know. And your mother has forgotten, and no one else seems to remember either. And it's like you walked past. Everybody just kept walking past that little bed that was left, or maybe cleaned up stuff. and only those scraps are left, without knowing.
Do I think I don't know much about it, but has any of my learning with the shaman suggested that people can have memory blanks or be made to forget certain things, or could it just get?
There
Yeah.
are legends about the deepest god that this sort of you don't know very much about it, but if anything, the only chord it strikes in your memory is that.
Can I run to my mum and tell her about it? I guess she's just going to deny it, or I'll take the dress with me.
You're going to talk to your mom then?
Yeah, I'll take the dress and run to her and say, "My sister, my father, what happened to them?"
And she kind of is giving you this like really trying to understand what you're saying kind of look.
Yeah.
And says, "Oh yeah, there's all kinds of mess around." Says, "Yeah, there's all kinds of mess around here, you know."
This isn't mess. This is my sister's clothes. Where is she? Why have we
again,
her?
your mom is kind of uh, kind of blinking a little bit and not sure what you're saying. How are you going to try to reach her?
I guess one thought is she being possessed or something? So maybe I will sort of touch her head and see if there's any spirit inhibiting her kind of intellectual faculties.
Detect spirit.
Yeah.
Spend the power.
Okay.
And there's no roll in this case, I think, but and because you find that there is no spirit there,
Okay.
but you can tell that her spirit, some of it's gone.
Ah, nasty. Okay.
Whereas you are really feeling that roll that you made earlier, right? Oh, by the way, I think you have to roll 15% or less to see if your power goes up.
Okay. Let's see. Unlikely 43. No.
Okay. So, there you go. You have definitely Ian, you missed a little bit. He had a weird revelation based on a seriously amazing power roll that he made.
Okay.
That permitted him vast insights that are shaking the very foundations of his family identity. And so,
So I guess my first thing is I'm probably going to ask Eben's advice now about how I can recover my mum's lost spirits. That's probably my next thing, to try and take her to him.
I see. Okay.
But yeah.
Well, you kind of woke up in the middle of the night. Did you wait until the morning to talk to your mother?
I guess I probably would have roused her as soon as would have been seemly, so maybe sort of 4 or 5 a.m., the first light of dawn with my worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's basically saying, "Oh, you got me up so early. There's so much to do," and doesn't seem really, interested. She says, "What do you want me to see Eben?"
I think we've been sick, Mother.
But you saved Des. The sickness didn't come to the village.
But I think somehow we've forgotten things from before that, even.
All right, listen. I know Eben is your mentor, and it seems as though you've got a great future. I hadn't really thought of you as a shaman before, but whatever you want to do. So it's a little bit like, well, I guess if you want to be, the dog catcher, I guess you could, is sort of her response. It's sort of thing. Yeah, son, whatever you'd like to be. He's a good man. But I'm busy. I have to attend to things.
There could be nothing more important, Mother. Please come with me.
All right. So she'll come with you.
Okay, good.
and as you come up, you can feel the spider fetch of Eben, uh, basically, literally drops out of a tree upon you
Okay.
and gives you a huge spidery spirit squeeze.
That's
Right,
nice. I'll
right,
pat it back.
and then as you get to you have a bound spirit of your own. Don't forget.
Yes, that's
Um,
right.
and the two of you, and it had flown on ahead basically. And so when you get there, your bird, is in Eben's hand.
Excellent.
Right. And he says, "You've seen then, haven't you?"
You knew I've become aware of stuff I seem to have forgotten. I feel like I've sort of been walking around in a dream.
You have been, or not, perhaps. Some of the world is subtracted on the unholiest of days. Some of the world is eaten. And those of us who can see it have to endure that no one else can, and actually see people disappear.
So the village is already being assaulted, people being taken.
Every village, my boy, every town, every tribe. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
This is my father and sister. This is not a little bit. This is Eben, I don't know what to do. Is there anywhere safe for us to run to?
I've devoted my life to maintaining what I can here.
It's not enough, Eben.
And I fear that I've brought her hands down upon all of us. And if it's not her, it's Wendrara and Ordlindas. And whichever of them holds sway, underneath all of it is Urhos the Void. Our gods have been enslaved and beaten. It's all distorted. I'm just turning into an old man here. I'm not old yet, but I will be soon. With the spiders and the spirits and the birds. With the few people that I can try to help. With the bit of knowledge that I can pass on. I don't know. I don't know. I've done what I can. I've seen those who've tried come to grief. My own mentor, out there now, his spirit tormented, serving her, serving It's a fate I wouldn't have for you. I am very uncertain about continuing to train you. What
Because
fate
of
would you what fate would you have? What destiny would you have here?
from what Rudiver tells me, I'm a marked man anyway.
Rudiver's probably right. It's his fault and it's mine. But I don't know what else we could have done.
No. My options are whether I should flee with my mother, whether you can heal her in some way, whether there's anything we can do to resist what's going on.
I am frightened by the void, and I am frightened by the light. Perhaps,
Just what you want to hear from your mentor.
yeah, perhaps your bravery is what I can rely on. It's a lot to lie on, to put on a young man's shoulders.
I don't feel very brave.
Okay, so your mother, who's not a mannequin at this
Yeah.
point, is saying, um, she's saying, is there something I need to see, Eben? Is there something you've been holding from us? Is there something that we need to see and know? And Eben says, I would not have you know it now. I think you need to say goodbye to your son. He's no longer just your son. And he looks at you and says, tomorrow, I think we might think about you meeting your fetch.
Okay.
If you and I walk the spirit worlds together, there are places we may go. Places, things we may gaze upon. That might help.
And might I be able to find my sister there? Or is she gone?
She's gone. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'll hold the dress and
Mm-hmm.
sort of shake a little bit, trying to control my emotions.
So, that leaves us with scariness in the forest. In the
So,
swamps.
yeah, looking down my sheet. I mean, the best thing I could try to do, really, I suspect, would be look around, see if I can see a creeper or something, and try and climb, try and get to pull myself out, basically, of the swamp to dry land.
Strength times 5.
That'll be 50. And 60 is not going to cut it.
No. So you're floundering around there in the mud as the spiders come closer, and the darkness descends upon you even worse, so that you can't see. So there you are, terrified of drowning in the dark, and or maybe of being sucked dry as a husk beforehand. It's kind of 50-50 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And and now you are going to be visited by a spirit of reprisal.
Oh.
And you realize what this is about. You should not have hurt the bird.
Mm. Mm.
So you just need a little taste to sharpen your understanding. What's your power?
Mm. My power is 9.
Incoming spirit attack. And as you know, we roll together on this spirit combat. There we are. Grab some percentage dice, Ian.
In my hands.
Uh-huh. And so go ahead and roll for me, where you make our, I believe that we make our attacks simultaneously. So mine there's 12 coming in on 9, which gives me a 36%, and yours is going to be a 35%.
Mm-hmm. 95 is not really going to cut it for me.
No, it's not. So here is the situation. Which there we go. Because we just did this. Right. Following options. And then we're rolling the power increase. So that would be, what was it, a set of 12. And then that is I actually thought 13 a second ago. But a 12 And so then, 40 or less. All right, so you're going to lose a point of power.
Okay.
Okay, so one more round of combat. Go again.
I got a 10.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Excellent.
so if you want, you can break off. Oh, you cannot break off combat. Go
No.
ahead and roll. You have a power of 8 at the moment, correct? So therefore, roll as if on the power increase table. So let's doing this properly. There we are. Oh, so you got a 10, really?
Yeah.
Holy cow. So it loses 3 power points.
Cool.
Ooh.
Right. So it's 8 on 9 at the moment. And it succeeded as well, but with just a regular, so you drop 1. So now it is 9 on 7.
Right. What are the numbers now?
9. You have, well, hold on. You've got 7 power. It's got 9. But since it succeeded, now it breaks off combat.
Okay.
And you know what you have been encountered. This is the spirit. I should have described it. Is like a flowing, distorted, stretched, swirling countenance of an old man, and who looks drowned. And in fact, the sensation was of drowning. Every time you lost power,
Oh, right. Okay.
you're like breathing mud in the bog.
Right.
And,
Makes sense.
and as you kind of gasp awake, the last impression you have is of a tree that has a tormented face in its bark, and
Ooh.
and the tree itself looks horribly diseased and distorted.
Can you hear us, Ian?
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we do. Did you hear
Okay.
about
Just don't see you.
Did you hear, Ian? Did you hear about the face that you saw just as you woke up in the?
I did, yeah, and I heard you discussing power game roll. I just think you guys couldn't hear anything I was saying to you.
Oh,
I
bummer.
could see you. I could hear you, but I was just like I was drowning in a darkness, and I
All right. So with a power of 9, roll 55% or less.
Indeed, 32.
Cool.
32 gives you 1 power point increase.
Wow, I made a power game roll for once in RuneQuest. This is a first for me, I think.
Please tell Calcium quickly.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh wait, what did you roll? A 32? Was that correct?
Yeah.
Then you gain 2 points.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Fantastic. You have a power of 11 now.
See, there is strength in confronting the nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
Dark side's growing in you.
Well, basically, you've been taught a lesson by the cult, is what's happened.
Yeah. Very true.
They've let you know what you do. You can chat it up about how you didn't do anything or whatever, but the spirits know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been given a shot across the bows.
Exactly. Yeah, or your knuckles, basically. Your knuckles have wrapped. And you've been rewarded, actually, though, right? Very much the carrot and the stick. Wrap your knuckles and then say, here, okay? So that's your situation. Guys, I think that's about it for us tonight.
That's really cool, Ron.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Matthew, you're kind of out of shot there.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Or
No, we're just seeing not
Your
enough
head's
of you.
kind of like this.
Right.
that's odd because I'm moving for me. But anyway, sorry about that. It's a technology problem. But very very dark and scary stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, guys, thanks very much.
No pleasure.
And I think I threw in quite a lot of cosmology this time.
That's interesting stuff.
Yeah. But
three of us seem to be encountering different aspects of the cosmology.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be
really cool.
Thanks. I didn't want it to be too obvious, like walking you through my monster manual sort of thing. But I figured with everything that just happened, it was kind of one of those detonations where your characters simply would have to come closer.
Yeah, and I think it's a storyline for all of us, right?
All right, guys.
Thank you very much. Cheers.